There is a whisper that inhabits the silences between our deepest thoughts, a voice not heard with the ears, but felt with the soul. It's the echo of something many have forgotten, but that has never extinguished, the memory that we are more than mortal bodies transiting through a material world. The greatest tragedy of humanity was not man's fall, but the forgetting of his origin. How many walk through life trying to find meaning in ready-made formulas, in external doctrines, without ever realizing that the true revelation is where few dare to look, within themselves. The existential void that torments millions is not a flaw, but a call to return to the Christ consciousness, to that spark that never separated from the divine mind, but that was buried under layers of beliefs, fears, and conditionings imposed over the centuries. The metaphor of the torn veil in the temple, described in the Gospels after the death of Jesus, was never just a historical or symbolic event marking the end of a religious era. It's a spiritual code, a key for those who have eyes to see. The veil represents the illusory separation between the human and the divine, between the outer temple and the inner sanctuary. To tear this veil is to dissolve the lie that God dwells only in the distant heavens or in elevated figures. It's to acknowledge that the eternal Spirit quietly resides in the heart of every being, waiting to be rediscovered. Christ did not die to create a religion. He died to show that the death of the ego reveals the eternal life that already pulses within us. What has been taught to us for generations as a bloody sacrifice is, in fact, the description of an initiatory process of spiritual rebirth. But why, even with so much access to information and spirituality, do so many still live, lost, anxious, disconnected? Because the greatest prison that exists is invisible. It doesn't have iron bars, but rather distorted concepts about who we are. We were taught to worship external images and forget the internal essence, to seek salvation in dogmas and ignore the living presence within us. The truth is that most people don't reject the divine, but rather the caricature of the divine that was imposed on them. Therefore, the true gospel will never be found only in written words, but rather in lived experiences. It is not confined to the pages of a book, but throbs in the heart that dares to be quiet enough to hear it. Christ, as consciousness, is a state of remembrance, an acknowledgement of our eternal origin and our spiritual identity beyond form.